Hi, everybody. Welcome to Capital to the Coast BNI. My name is Mike Manning. Each week, we bring you a local small business success story from one of our 37 chapters that spread from Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill all the way to Swansboro, core group on the coast, Jacksonville, New Bern, all those places. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. And our job as a member is to help our fellow members grow their business, following the giver's gain mentality for BNI, because we know what we give, we will gain back. And our local small business success story this week is Angela Chamberlain with Kana Consulting, and she is in RD14 Carpex. They meet Wednesdays at noon. Angela, good to have you on the show. How are you today?
Good morning, Mike. It is wonderful to be here this morning. I'm very
Yeah,
excited to be joining you today.
we had some warm weather yesterday, and now it's cold again today. We're just all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So Angela holds the small business consulting seat in her chapter. So Angela, always love name stories. So how did you come up with a name for your business?
Oh, that's a great question. So, Kana Consulting, I started my consulting business about 5 years ago. So, in the 2020 pandemic time. And during that pandemic, I was actually a mother to a 1-year-old. And I was pregnant and expecting my second when March 2020 happened and everything locked down. At that time, I didn't have my consulting business yet, but I was an entrepreneur. I had my own personal training business, which I owned for about 7 years. When the pandemic happened, the gyms also closed down and the daycares closed. So I went from having a thriving business to locking down at home and really just hanging up my personal training career and focusing on not catching COVID through my pregnancy. And so it
So how
was,
did you get to the name?
yeah. So I got to the name because after my second son was born in October of 2020, I did have that moment of I'm going to have to pivot. I'm not going back to the personal training environment. And that's when I began Kana Consulting. And what it really stands for is it's a play on a Filipino word, a Tagalog word, anak. Anak is the word anak, and anak means child in Tagalog. And I decided to just turn that word around to Kana, to Kana, just because it had a nicer sound to it. And really, it's paying homage to entering motherhood into rebirth of self and also rebirth of new endeavors into this new business.
Right. And so Angela's from Manila. We're going to get to that. There are a number of things that this woman has accomplished, and we're going to get to a lot of those. So you help, one of the things you help businesses with is missing out on leads, whether they don't answer the phone, somebody tries to get with them. We don't know how much business we've lost just because we didn't pay attention to the phone, a text, an email, something like that. Am I close to thinking we have no idea?
You have no idea. Yeah, especially in local services, it's the most competitive landscape. There's a plumber, a plumber, a plumber. There's an HVAC person, HVAC person of HVAC person. So I'd say that one of the top two places that I see where leads are often missed, number one, it's speed to lead. 100%. There's a golden time period, and that's really within 5 minutes of somebody contacting you that people are expecting a response. They're not necessarily expecting you to be in your room to start working on the HVAC problem. Although some people, you never know how dramatic or how drastic the situation is. If you're leaking water, of course, you need something immediate. But in most local services businesses, what I'm finding is that there needs to be some kind of acknowledgement that the phone call was received and that the vendor is going to do something with that. whether, hey, I got your message and we're going to have somebody call you back in 5 minutes, some kind of acknowledgement, or we received your message, here's our first availability within the next 6 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours, and giving the consumer an option to be able to book time on schedules. So speed to lead is so important. When I hear businesses telling me that we're going to get back to them within 24 hours, those leads are they're dead. There have been 5 or 6 different vendors that have already stepped into your place, and those leads are just no longer valid. You cannot resuscitate those leads. They've moved on.
And
Speed to lead, yeah, definitely critical.
and we as business owners need to understand the climate of business today. 20 years ago, that was a perfect response
Hmm.
because we did not have things at our fingertip. And I think especially, and I'm glad you brought this up, I think especially the service-based businesses, they need to know that I'm thinking it's 5 minutes. If I get your voicemail and nobody calls me back, am I waiting much longer than 5 minutes before I go to number two?
No.
Yeah.
No, you're moving so quickly. And I'll use this anecdote from a friend of mine who recently, she was shopping for HVAC work and she went down the route of using Angie's List. And she told me that when she had put her estimate into Angie's List as to the work that she needed done, as to the contact information where she wanted to be contacted, she said that it happened instantaneously. And I mean, she put her info there. Once she hit send, it was her text messages, they were coming in, the phone calls were coming in. There was a person that called her maybe about 3 hours later, and she just said, I'm sorry, I've already booked the job with someone else. I've got 3 estimates that are coming tomorrow, and she's moved on. And so, unfortunately, we just live in that kind of world now where we order things from Amazon at 8 a.m. and expect to get it at 4 p.m. this afternoon. It's wild, right? But that's where we are. And so we're seeing that urgency and immediacy kind of transcending into all different types of services.
And you are big with AI for
Yes.
this, which and folks, I'm I'm going to be 65 in May. Let me give you the old guy. You can't, it's here. You can't not acknowledge it. You may not use it a lot, but you have to know where it fits in your business world because your competitors are using it and your data is going to support just what Angela told you in about 3 weeks. And why? How come everybody we call back has said that? So Angela, how did your relationship with AI come about, and how have you implemented that into your business?
Sure. So, back in 2021, when I started my consulting business, I actually wasn't doing AI consulting at that time. I was deep into understanding the federal procurement marketplace, and I was a business to government consultant for commercial contractors in the area. So I was helping them figure out how to position themselves and find prime contracts and subcontracts. So a lot of the work that I was doing was B2G. And maybe about a year later in 2022, when ChatGPT came out, I was blown away, completely blown away at what the language model can do. And I pivoted at that point yet again and started to think, there's a certain kind of company that likes to do business with the government, and not all businesses like to. That's just how it is. The government tends to work a little bit differently. There's a bit more bureaucracy and red tape, all of the things. But then at that time when chat came out, I thought to myself, I could probably help more businesses in general if I decided not to go B2G, but maybe figured out a way to teach a business owner, a small business owner, how to leverage these type of tools for their benefit. Because at the end, if we think about what's happened with Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 500 companies have had machine learning and AI tools for years. AI in itself, it's not a new word. AI has been around. If you have a debit, of a telephone, if you have a smartphone, you've been around AI and machine learning for years. It's been around for about 50 years. What's made it a lot more relatable is the language model, is now we can speak to it in human terms and then it can converse with us, basically. So we don't need to know how to be able to write lines of code or different types of languages that a developer would understand. We can speak it to the computer, the language model, and it can decipher what we're trying to do and write the code for itself. So in 2022, when ChatGPT came out with the news, I thought to myself, well, this is a massive lever. This is a lever that can help equalize. We've got these Fortune 500 companies that have had the budgets to spend on AI. They have teams of AI, of data scientists, of specialists, of work process analysts, and they've had all these tools at their disposal because they had the resources. Well, now this language model can actually mimic some of these same things at a smaller scale for a Main Street business. And that's where I made that connection.
Yeah, and so I like it, and I agree with you 100%. And so if we're talking to very small business owners today, so it's like solopreneurs or somebody with maybe three or four employees, just getting the basics of it. And here's what I use it for, what I've learned. So I use it to craft some ideas for my business. I used it 2 weeks ago to help find a new mattress because what I learned is it all depends on the question and the data you put in to get the right answer. Because I didn't ask for, hey, what's the best mattress? My wife wanted one with no memory foam in it, and so we went that way. And it actually, and this is what stunned me, and you knew this, I did not. It actually now knows my sound. So when I'm writing a follow up letter to a client, and I'll type it in there. It's like, hey, does this, like, well, if you added this word, it would sound more like you. So, from a basic standpoint, then what's the first thing business owners who are not using it can ease into it?
I would say exactly what you described, with having some curiosity with using generative AI. And when I talk about generative AI, I'm talking about the platforms, which is Gemini, which is Claude, which is ChatGPT, Grok, Manus. These are all generative AI language model tools. And to your point, in the last year that I've been speaking with individuals about AI, the number one thing that most people talk to me about is, yeah, I use it to draft some copies, maybe some marketing material to do a little bit of research. But then after a while, I kind of give up because it starts sounding a little bit robotic and it doesn't sound like me. And I would say at this time last year, that was everyone's biggest gripe about it. In the last 6 months alone, its memory capability has gotten significantly better. And before a year ago, I would have to go in there and create source data and source information in the model so that it could capture my voice. And I would create lots of different prompts so that my Gen AI could speak in the manner that I speak. But now, because each model is advancing so quickly, that memory component has gotten really good. So now, like you just said, it's now been able to capture my voice. And the faster that it can capture your voice, the more things that it can do for you that are bespoke to you and to how you speak and so to what you need. So when people approach me and they haven't used it before, just take a little bit of curiosity and think of it, just use it as exactly what you did, as a brainstorming partner. It is magnificent at that. And just start there and see what it kind of comes back with. And as you chat with it a little bit more, it tends to learn more about you. Other things that I would do as a business owner is you can dive in really, really deep with it too, and give yourself, maybe a block of 30 minutes or so and tell it about yourself. give it a sense of who you are and its background, because they're like children. They're just complete blank canvases that have zero context of anything. But if you give it some background about who you are, perhaps the things that you're interested in, or background about your business, what you want your brand to stand for, what's important to you, what your core values are, it will start taking that information and build something for you. And if it's completely off mark, just tell it, no, I don't believe in that. Move
Yeah.
on, try again. And that's what's great about it, is because it's inexhaustible. That process of going back and forth, nope, that's not it, try again. Nope, that's not it, try again. Or you can say, I actually sound more like blank. Fill in that blank, whoever you want to sound like. I sound like Dan Kennedy. I sound like Tony Robbins. Fill in the blank, and it will emulate what those individuals are like. And that's what can be really, really powerful about it. So
Yeah.
for
And
beginners, yeah.
yeah, so sorry, two things that jump out on what you said. So all week, since Friday morning, I've been in this long thread about uh, actually sending out uh, confirmation emails with an invoice, and then the follow up and how much, and stuff like that. And that one thread, I can refer back to something. And instead of me scrolling all the way back or looking at my horrible handwriting, I can say, hey, remember when we were talking about, and it calls it instantly. And Saturday night, I'd done with typing and we were working on one last thing. And it asked me another question. I said, hey, one more answer, then I got to go to bed. And I answered the question, and it responded to me as like, "Hey, great work today." And of course, I'm a very good coach. If you ask I'm Chat GPT, and they love everything, not everything you do, but it said, "Okay, you sleep good on this. We've had a good productive day." I'm like, "Wow, yeah."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. But we can't, Angela, we can't be afraid to learn this, because
Yeah.
we're truly going to be left behind.
Yeah, and I would say that 2026, this year is it's a really meaningful year. I like to call it the year of separation, is going to be 2026. So in 2025, Fortune 500 companies bought over $350 billion worth of AI tools. That's 350 billion with a B. Of the $350 billion of these tools, they actually only implemented 5% of the 350 billion last year. Okay. This year, that 5% number is going to go up to about 60% in terms of implementation into the business. And on top of that 60% of implementation, there's going to be about an additional 550 to 600 billion in additional spend in AI. And so companies are now, last year it was let's buy all the tools, let's fiddle around with it. This year is we're implementing, we're using, and we're installing the tools. And so there's going to be some hardships for a lot of people in the Fortune 500 space, unfortunately, because what will happen is now everyone's speaking about agentic AI and agentic workflows. What you and I were just talking about was level one, which was generative AI.
And
Okay.
sometimes that may be what most of us need, is just level one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, most of us will need level one. But here's the thing. So as more of these businesses start adopting agentic tools, the same thing can happen for Main Street businesses. Just as Main Street businesses can use generative AI, they're also now more than ever capable of using agentic tools. And agentic tools is really where the rubber meets the road. Because generative AI, Gen AI tools, which would be the foundational, it's kind of like talking to a chatbot. You ask it a question, the chatbot has a little bit of knowledge, and it spits something out that it thinks it's pretty close to what you're asking. That's how generative AI works. Agentic AI works more like a junior employee. Generative agentic AI is going to be able to ask you, what are your goals? And then will actually give you and execute for you the outcome. So
Nice.
that's Yeah.
Yep. All right. So yeah, folks, you gotta, and if you think, oh, they're gonna find out more of my information, dude, they already know it. Though somebody knows everything we own. They may know your bank account. They're not collecting any more data that had already been collected.
Yeah.
Uh, so Angela, the day before you open your consulting business, all right? I know it's a nervous night's sleep. You wake up the next morning, you now have your own business. What are the one couple of the first things you did to let people know you are open for business?
Oh, that's a really good one. Well, I think one of the first things that I did was make it official and open my LLC. There's something about that process of um, not of having your own bank account and kind of birthing the child, if you will, making it official. I told a lot of my immediate circle of friends and colleagues, kind of people that had knew me from a previous life in my personal training days, that I had transitioned to something different. A lot of them were still wondering if I was going to come back to personal training and fitness, which I wasn't any longer. But yeah, I really started with just a circle of folks that I knew, and then started to market myself in places like other Facebook groups, other networking groups, other in-person networking groups, and began there.
And when did you kind of get a sense of who at that point in time, because I know it evolves, who some of your ideal clients would be?
Yeah. So at that point, I when I started with business to government consulting, it was really trying to find a lot of those businesses that wanted to get into that marketplace. And what I found very easily as I approached more and more businesses was not everyone cared to do business with them. I made a lot of cold calls to folks that said, nope, no, thank you. The moment you said government, they just hung up the phone. And then of course, as it evolved, and now that I'm working with more different types of businesses, not just B2G businesses, it's really the areas that I see myself being the most impactful are with clients that are in that revenue space of somewhere between 500,000 to about 2 to 3 million, and continuing to grow. So I'd like to say that my sweet spot of clients are really businesses 20 million and under, with 20 employees and under. They're still running really lean. However, they're still running really lean, and they can move very quickly. So decision making is quick. However, they're getting to that point in their business where they have some systems and things that they've put in place that have worked for them when they first started their business. And they're starting to see some cracks in those systems and its ability to keep up with their growth. And that's where I tend to be able to help the best.
And in BNI, folks, if you've never been into a BNI meeting, but uh, depending on the size of the chapter, you either have 30 seconds, 45 seconds, or 60 seconds to do your elevator pitch. So, Angela, early on, how much fun was that trying to take 60 seconds, explain to everybody in the room, like, no, it's these people right here?
I mean, it's tough. It's definitely tough to explain it with, especially with something that can, where I like to say it when I do my pitch is, listen, I get it. AI can mean everything to you, or AI can mean nothing to you. It can go either way. I really have to meet each of my clients where they are in terms of how comfortable they are with the technology. And frankly, not everything I do has to touch a language model or AI. Sometimes the services that I'm offering has nothing to do with AI and has everything with improving their workflow and automations and showing them other tools that might be right under their nose. They just didn't know that they were capable of leveraging the tool that way.
And we all need to learn stuff that we need to know about our business. But the other thing is, your competitors are going digital, they're going AI, they're depending on the level of your business. If you're not just, I take that back. If you're a landscaper, Okay. You still need the best equipment or equipment worthy of competition. You can't you can't pull your own four-wheel lawnmower out of the back of your truck and be efficient. You need a bigger one like that. So love the systems and the processes, and you're right. Everything's going either AI or technical or everything like that. And for some of us, that's hard, Angela. How do you talk to the tech challenged world like myself?
Well, I just tell all individuals the AI is not going to replace you, right? So an AI per se is not going to replace you. It is the person that knows how to leverage AI is what's going to replace you. The robots aren't quite here yet. That's the third tier of AI. So whenever I explain AI, I like to make the distinction that there are three tiers, right? We've got generative AI down at the bottom, we've got agentic in the middle, and at the very top, we have AGI. And if you grew up in the 80s like I did and you watched Terminator and Terminator 2, that's AGI. That's autonomous general intelligence. Those are just robots doing their thing and taking over. We're not quite there yet, which is good. However, the robots in and of themselves, or even the agents in and of themselves, are not the ones that are going to take your job. It's the individuals that know how to orchestrate these agents, build them into their business that are, unfortunately going to be the ones that seem omnipresent and inexhaustible because their systems are omnipresent and inexhaustible. Their agents are always on and they don't get tired. So I try to make it really clear to the businesses that I work with, and it's not to scare anyone away, but the AI is not just a play. It's not a play on just technology. AI is a play on labor. And I think when you understand that it's a play on labor, then you understand how powerful that is. Because I think every single business owner understands what's the most expensive item on their expenses.
Yep, that is true. And each week, generally, I tell people sometimes you have to hire an expert to help your business, whether it's a bookkeeper or whatever.
Mhm.
Angela's one of these people, folks. Just call her. We've been putting her number up here just to understand what's out there. And you may be like me on a 1 to 10 scale. You just need a 1 or 1.5. And it
Mhm.
makes your business, because we got to work smarter. We're all working hard. Got to work smarter. So how did BNI come up on your radar?
BNI came up on our radar. I'm actually I had my 1 year anniversary. March 1st was when I
Congratulations.
signed up. I had my 1 year anniversary. So BNI came up on my radar. I had attended a couple of meetings, and when I was attending meetings around this time last year, I still had a son in preschool who wasn't going to school full time quite yet. He was going to school 3 days a week. And so I was home juggling, doing my consulting business and also juggling motherhood and childcare. And I knew that in the fall of 2025 that he would be in school full time. And I was positioning myself to find a chapter to join. The work that I do is not bespoke to this area. I can certainly take clients on anywhere who has needs, but I really wanted to make it a point to get very plugged in and dialed in and connected to my local market. Um, Once upon a time, I used to be a door knocker. I just kind of love being in the community. And so when I found a great BNI chapter that suited me, I just decided it was a no-brainer. He had to join. There was so much intentionality behind BNI, and I love that so much about how BNI works, is that we come together, we're very intentional with our time. It's very purpose driven. So everything's just aligned that way for me. And I'm
And you've
very
got
fortunate.
12, 20, 25 people now listening for you. And again, that's
Yeah.
the beauty of it. So,
Yeah.
all right. So one of my favorite questions to my married guests are your husband's name is Brian.
Mhm.
So how did you and Brian meet? And do you both tell the story the same way?
No, we tell the story differently, very differently. So
Good.
my husband and I have been together for 20 years, and we met in Washington, D.C. I went to university at Washington, D.C. He went to school at University of Maryland, and we were on the same adult kickball league. So we were on a kickball league in our 20s, just the single life. And at that time, he was actually dating someone else on the team. And so, he was, and he hates it when I tell this. This is where we disagree. He hates this part of the story. He's like, why do you always tell people about the other girl that I said, well, were you dating someone else? Yes or no? You were. So he said, but that doesn't mean, I said, no, it's just this minor detail. It doesn't matter at any rate. So, yeah, so we met on a kickball team in
And
Washington, D.C.
so when and where was the official first date?
Oh, it was in Adams Morgan in Washington, D.C.
What is that?
Adams Morgan is a bar district in
Okay,
uh,
got you. All right.
in Washington, D.C. So lots of nightlife, lots of late night shenanigans, And this was way before
Yeah.
my time was before social media and smartphones. So which I'm very grateful for.
Most of us are, yes. So at what point in time did you know that, oh, I think there's something here?
I would say about 3 years into our relationship, we decided to both move out of the Washington, D.C. area, and we moved to the Midwest. And, we didn't have a family yet, and we decided to live in Chicago and experience what life was like there as young professionals.
Right. And you are a mother of two boys. So a qualifier question to my next question. Did you grow up with a brother?
I did not.
Okay. So I always
Sister.
like to ask mothers of boys who did not have brothers, why is my 3-year-old standing on the back of the couch with a towel tied around his neck thinking he can fly? Did those moments make you scratch your head like, what is up with this?
Yes and no. There are things that I say every day that I look at my husband and I say, I really never thought these words, the sentence came out of my mouth. Can you believe this sentence came out of my mouth today? So we have those moments 100%. But growing up, I had two cousins who were both boys that I tagged along with, and they kind of became my brothers. And so, I saw some things and they toughened me up quite a bit. So I was more prepared for this than say if I wasn't around those two cousins growing up.
It
But
helps.
yeah,
And the only answer, Angela, is we're males.
I
And that
know.
just covers a lot of ground.
It does. It really does. There's nothing I can do. It's
I,
just in your hard wiring.
yeah, oh, big time. And I'm assuming Brian has used this phrase that I used to my wife, Becky. Honey, up here, it sounded like a great idea.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah. In
so
theory, it
yeah,
worked out in my mind.
I always tell her if I'm going to get a scorecard in heaven, my intent score is going to be better than my execution score.
I like that. I like that.
So, I'll be like an AC student, but you know what? I had really good attention.
That's right.
So you were born in Manila. How
Yes.
long did you live there?
I lived in Manila until I was 5 years old. I had my sixth birthday here in the United States.
Where did you move first and why? What got you
My
to the States, basically?
Sure, yeah. Well, my father was in the U.S. Navy, and he was
Oh.
stationed in Virginia, in Norfolk, Virginia. So he was stationed in the the U.S. Naval base over there, and that pretty much became home.
And
Yeah,
so
we.
was he, so
Mhm.
what got him to Manila?
Well, in the 1970s, the United States had opened up several US bases in the Philippines. And so when they opened these bases in the Philippines, they also had a very specific program for enlisting Filipinos in the community to join the US Navy. And of course, part of that is then gaining American citizenship for their services into
Cool.
the US Navy.
Very nice. I like that. How long was he in the Navy?
He did his 22 years.
Retired now?
Yes, yes, retired now.
Happy?
Yes, very, yeah, yes, happy. And it's hard. Those deployments were real. Those
Yeah. Oh,
those
yeah.
long stretches of time when he's on a 6-month deployment
Mhm.
and we don't see him for
Yeah.
half a year. That's a real part of being in a military and naval household.
I think that, and it's just my soapbox, every kid that that finishes high school should do 1 year in the military and 1 year in hospitality. So they can learn a little structure in the military and hospitality. They can learn how to deal with idiot clients or how to be nice to people and all that stuff. But I don't think this is going to happen, but that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's something to be said for that.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Yeah.
All right. So, wait, we'll get back to the being born in Manila. I do like that. We'll get back to that in a second. So, in 1997, if your data that I read is correct, I'll lay it on you first. Okay, you enrolled in American University. What was the plan?
Okay. Yeah, in 1997, I did enroll in American University. I was a high school athlete and I played two sports. I played a number of sports, but two sports seriously, which was basketball and field hockey. And I wanted to play basketball in college for a really long time and had aspirations to become a Division I point guard playing basketball. But I'm 5'3" on a very good day, and I'm kind of fast, but not lightning fast. So I had a couple of things that were stacked up against me. I started playing field hockey when I was in the eighth grade, ninth grade, and then seriously started considering playing in college when I was in a sophomore in about 10th grade. By the time I became a senior, I stopped playing basketball altogether and went all in on field hockey. And I earned a scholarship to play field hockey at American University.
Where else did you get offers to play college field hockey?
Villanova and St. Joseph's.
So if you didn't go to American, where would you have gone?
Probably Villanova.
Snows a lot there, you know that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So my one of my nieces played high school field hockey, and I'm intrigued by the first meeting of educated adults. Hey, let's invent these two sports, field hockey and lacrosse. We're going to give every player a stick. And there's something they can't do with it. There's something they can do with it. What a great idea, Angela.
What could happen?
Nothing. What drew you to field hockey?
So, in the late 90s and early 2000s, the field hockey community in Virginia Beach, and still to this day, was really thriving. And a lot of it was because Old Dominion University, which is in Norfolk, Virginia, was a bit of a powerhouse of a school there.
Basketball, women's basketball, legendary program. Yep.
Yeah, women's basketball, field hockey in the late 90s, they started winning a lot of national championships. And a lot of the women that were coming out of that collegiate program were representing the United States and playing on Olympic teams. And in general, a lot of schools in Virginia, also here, of course, North Carolina being legendary of all
Hmm.
the field hockey schools, of all the most winningest field hockey program is at UNC, Chapel Hill. And but a lot of the ACC schools, your Marylands, your Wake Forest, your North Carolinas, your UVAs were all consistently in the top 10 in the country. So it was just a fertile area for the sport. And I didn't really realize that until I started playing it and started being coached by some of these former D1 collegiate players, then turned Olympians, started coaching us in our youth programs. And that's how I learned about it and started getting into it.
Right. So you don't have to brag here, but you know there's an answer to my question. At what point in time in high school did you kind of realize I'm pretty good at this?
Um, this was it was I had a coach that was actually just I had a coach that brought it out of me. It wasn't something that I didn't even know that you could play this sport in college. I mean, I'm the child of immigrant parents, so navigating collegiate athletics, this is not in my family's radar. Okay. They were not the families that were forcing sport on me, not at all. If anything, I was the one that was reminding them, like, hey, I think I need to sign up for this. Sign-ups are coming up. And basically, I'm filling out the forms for my parents, and they're just saying, okay. And they really had no idea how it all worked. And then I had a really important coach in my youth, who she just kind of pinned me down one day and said, hey, what are your plans this summer? Are you playing in any of the Olympic development programs in and around the area? Are you playing? Are you playing hockey? And I said, well, I don't know. She said, you really should play. You're really good at this. And then it didn't make any sense. I was like, you think so? She's like, yeah. And then she said, I said, do you think I could play in college? And she almost like scratched her head, like, you have no clue. Like, I really don't. I don't have any clue. She said, yes, you definitely can play collegiately. Yes, they will give you scholarships to play collegiately. And for me, that was the moment. And I said, oh, okay, if this can help get me through college and get me through school, and I could also play, fantastic. Why not? Let's go for it. So that probably happened when I was about 15, maybe somewhere between sophomore and junior year. I then started paying attention to which sport I was better at, and frankly, I was a better field hockey player than I was a basketball player. It was devastating for my parents to hear that. Devastating. Field hockey was supposed to be a hobby, and it wasn't supposed to be the thing that I committed to. In their mind, basketball made a lot more sense. Basketball, we at that point we had spent so much time and resources into basketball camps and basketball programs, and then all of a sudden I hung it up and said, "We're gonna pivot." So, but they went with it. Then it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like good parents. Yeah. When was the last time you played field hockey?
The last time I played field hockey competitively was probably about 10 years ago. I was playing on a club team in Chicago, and it was co-ed, men and women, and we played tournaments, both indoor, outdoor. So about 10 years ago. Last year, I played, I guess they call it deck hockey, for the first time here in Apex, which was very different pace in the game. And also, I'm nowhere near my fitness level where my fitness level needs to be, but it was a lot of fun. So I played field hockey 10 years ago, and then last year I played a little bit of deck hockey, just pick up deck hockey with
So
ice hockey sticks. Yeah.
the next morning after the deck hockey games, how was the recovery for your buddy?
Horrible. I'm pretty sure I was soaking in the tub that same evening.
So I will say this, Angela, you did something that a lot of us wanted to have done was have played college sports at some level somewhere. So I'm just always impressed by, because I know I've seen what it takes to get to that level, whether it's D3, D1 at American or D1 at Carolina to get that level. So I tip my hat to you because there's a lot of us wish we could even played like 3 minutes in college. So well done. Well done.
Thank you.
All right. So now is the time of the show. This is the no overthinking round.
Okay.
Don't need long answers. Okay. Snow or no snow?
No snow.
Okay. The closest similarity between the Filipino uh, culture and the U.S. culture.
This closest similarity?
Yeah, the similarity, it's a similarity of the two
Okay.
cultures or lifestyle or something.
Or language.
Yeah. You guys don't
Yeah.
have a lot of slang that people make up on every day and post it on social
Oh,
media
yeah,
in
no.
Philippines. Uh,
There's a ton of slang.
yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest difference.
Hmm. The biggest difference would be collectivist culture versus individualist culture.
I ask you, that's the collectiveness culture.
The Filipinos have a very collectivist mindset. Yeah.
Are your boys, is that culture part of your boys growing up?
Yeah, a
Good.
little bit. I'd like it to be more in terms of language. I'm not speaking to them enough in Tagalog. It's hard to speak in a vacuum when others around you are not speaking.
They'll think you're talking about them, right?
Yeah.
What are the Filipino names for grandmother and grandfather? And do your boys call your parents that?
Yes. Grandmother is Lola, Lola. Grandfather is Lolo, Lolo.
Okay.
However, my father goes by Lolo, he's grandpa. My mother goes by Ama, Ahma, Ama, which is grandmother in Chinese. I'm half Chinese too.
Oh, cool. See, I
Mhm.
love when heritage are carried on, even
Yeah,
as simple as a name for a grandmother. Love that. So good
yeah.
for them. What is something people assume about your business that is totally wrong?
They assume that it's going to cost them a bajillion dollars to work with me. Totally
And
wrong.
of all the people I've had on the show that I've asked that question to, it takes them about a third of a second for that answer to come into their head. It's very obvious, isn't it?
Yeah,
And a lot of
yeah,
times it's pricing. Yeah. So I
yeah.
think it's funny. If and when Hollywood makes a movie about you, who's going to play you?
Oh my gosh, really? Um, Gosh, who can I think of right now? Oh man. I mean, I'd love to say someone like Lucy Liu, but she's actually older than me, not younger
I think
than
she's
me.
older than me. Yeah. But a good call. I'm a big fan. Yeah, good stuff. So, is your email inbox organized or is it chaos?
Oh, it is organized chaos.
Okay. When in previous jobs, when you have managed people, what's one word they would use to describe you as a boss?
Mm. Consistency.
Ooh, okay. I like that. Back to something you referenced earlier. When you're talking to your kids, are you hearing your mother or your father in your head while you're saying that statement?
Mom, over and over and over again. Just
I love the mother-daughter dynamic. It never stops giving because my wife's mom passed about coming up on 2 years. And my wife, where she was sitting in the chair, I was in the kitchen, she said something. And I looked at her, I said, "That's your mother. I just heard your mother talk." And then, as a good daughter would do, I'm sure you've done this. Oh, that's not the most I've said all week long. I said three, talking about everything. So,
every day, I'm just becoming more and more my mother.
yep, I know. I remember when Travis is our oldest, he was, I don't know, 6. And we're out to eat one day. And first time I really heard my wife say that, she said something to Travis and stopped herself. And she goes, Oh my gosh, I sound just like my mother. It's like, oh, that's a fun game to play. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a morning or an evening person?
Morning,
When you say morning,
5
what?
a.m.,
Oh, you're one of my people. That's the
5
best
a.m.
time of day, isn't it?
Sure is. Love it.
Yep. Yeah, because people haven't had a chance to inflict their stupid world in our great world, you know? It's like,
Yes.
man, why are you, I'm on a run right now. Why are you messing with me? So yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Uh, what is the one thing you are most excited about for your business this year?
Ooh, um, gosh. I think what I'm most excited about in my business this year is the this year, I tell you, Mike, it's just so different from the conversations that I've been having last year. I think people's minds have finally opened. So the conversations have been um, less all about just the skepticism. And there's just been a lot more openness. And I think now I'm just really excited to be able to educate more people. I think
Very
last
nice.
year it felt a little bit like pulling teeth. And I'm not here to debate things. I'm just here to share what I know. And I think this year, people that I've been speaking with are receptive to that. I think they've gotten it. There's a
Right.
lot more. Yes.
Yep. And I agree with you. It's moving fast.
Mhm.
So for the people watching the show, uh, they have a business. What's one simple thing they can look at today to think about applying to AI, or how do they bring a simple, easy way for them to bring that into their business?
Sure. I would say the number one area that I see for all businesses, most businesses have some kind of list of customers that they've already touched in the past. The really sophisticated ones, or at least the ones that have adopted a system, have an official CRM. There's a lot of businesses where they just tell me my inbox is my CRM. There's a different set of issues there. We've
And
moved,
explain CRM,
yeah,
the
customer
letters.
relationship management system.
Okay. So
Just a
you,
place, yeah, a place where people, these people already like, know, and trust you because they purchased something from you or you've served them in some way. I think one of the easiest and lowest hanging fruit, if you will, for any business is reactivating that CRM. So cleaning it up, whatever you need to do to clean that list up, and then really think long and hard about when was the last time you've touched these customers? What kind of touch points have you had with them? And then having a conversation with either someone like myself or the marketing person in your business or your ops person, whoever, or your VA, whoever's going to do any marketing work for you, but thinking through and maybe using a little piece of AI, generative AI, on how you can re-engage those customers.
nice. Yeah, it's here, folks. And we've been putting Angela's number on the screen here. Please give her a call just to chat for a second. You're going to learn something. That much I know, because I learned something on this call today too. And I'm new to it, but I'm using it, and it's easy to do. ChatGPT is free. I upgraded to the $8 a month because it retains all my conversations. So I
Mhm.
can look to the left and I can see, oh, that's right. The other day we are talking about YouTube channels. And I go right back in there and it picks up right where we left off. So I'm glad you shared that with folks. And some, this, some people are just not going to change, but you're looking for the ones who want to, right?
Exactly. Mhm.
Good. All right. So your website is what?
My website is Kana Consulting, Kana Consulting, all one word.com.
Wonderful. Angela, thanks for being on the show today. Love the stories. And again, you being a collegiate athlete, oh, I'm jealous. And I'm rarely jealous of anything, but I so wish I could have played tennis at any level at any college. So,
Thank
but,
you, Mike.
but
Awesome
then
being here with you today.
thanks. But then I know if I went to like a D3 school to play tennis, I never would have met my wife. I would have never gotten to Austin, Texas. And it was like, yeah, so I'm good. I'm good. I got 4 grandkids out of the deal, so I'll take
That's
that. So,
right. That's
all
right.
right, folks,
Okay.
go check out Kana Consulting. We've been putting Angela's phone number up there. And we will see everybody next time on Capital to the Coast BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.